All right, hello. Yes, I tried streaming a couple of times, but I'm very distracted today. So you'll have to excuse that. But I did play around with this tool, and we have some progress. So one thing that that's very interesting is that we have this agent now, and this agent has access to these two RAG tools, which is the code tool and the dependency tool. But the thing is that we haven't been able to control what the agent queries them with. We've kind of had this high level, abstracted, ambiguous expectations or instructions. But it's like the way it's been querying these tools has been not very good. And then I thought, why not? Because I got inspired by like this concept of templating. So what I try to do is be more specific about the instructions. So here you can see I'm saying query the code rag tool in the format of does this suggested change already exist in the code? Because that's really important, right? If you want to implement something, you don't have the complete context of that code. And very often you have like duplicated things. So that's just, it's interesting to see if like how efficiently can it answer that. And then if the suggested change does not exist, query the dependency rag tool in the format of suggest an implementation for the following change. So we're basically using our dependency rag tool as like a very general purpose thing. We don't like put everything into like use the dependency rag tool to implement this in the code base. It's like it's more separate. So we just want to get a suggested implementation so that it has enough context to figure out what to do. And then we say query the code rag tool in the format of suggest the file paths. So this is kind of where I'm at now. So just because now we need to figure out where should we implement this. And this is really the intention of the code rag tool as well. One thing is knowing what's already there, but also being able to infer where to put new changes. And that's why I was so interested in not only having summaries of the files, but also having summaries of the folders. Because if the folder has a summary, it's much easier for this spot in the instructions to understand where to put new things, like new files. But then we write the suggested changes to the code base, respond with a short summary of the changes without code references. So for example, if I say now implement a counter, it does the first instruction, and then it says the code base already contains an implementation of a counter. No further changes are necessary. So that's great, right? And it also ties into, it's very explicit about how being in contact with the real world actually is a benefit. I did just watch this. Oh, I read this tiny article on glorifying RAG. That if you think that's all it takes, like it's been glorifying LLMs, and then that's all it takes, and then it's like no, they actually need to know what's real. So move to glorifying RAG, and now I'm like, oh, that's not the end either. But from there, I don't really understand what's the next thing we need to glorify to make this stuff actually work. But let's now jump into like something very complex and super ambiguous. So I want the count to be persisted in a database. So what's happening now is that it first goes in and asks if it makes sense. It does not exist in the code. So then it goes and it asks, suggest an implementation for the following change, persist the count in a database. So the point here is really to just scope down, based on your dependencies, how would you like implement this in general? And then we rather go and we figure out where should we implement this change. We go and read the contents of the current code, and then we take this general implementation as if it was like an article that wrote how to implement something, and then you actually implement it in the code. But we're building up a lot of context here, so I'm very but here it writes like how to actually implement that. There's a scrolling issue here, so we'll see what actually happens. Yeah, it didn't actually implement anything. Oh yeah, sorry. But I'm very curious what it said about. So this is file path. What the hell is this? Function tool? Which function tool? I guess that's read file. Suggest okay, to persist the count, you will need to make changes to both the front end and so this is where I'm struggling, because for some reason it doesn't seem to really use the information. It's very, very weird. And it is using the I can't see which tool it is. It's kind of annoying. Yeah, it should be querying the code rag tool, but it's like it gives such a general response. Yeah, and then it's like server, and so this is not good, right? So we need to fix that. So that's where it's really like going wrong now. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're rather gonna ask it to yeah, maybe it's better that it gets like we ask it to kind of get the structure. Let's see. Read the, let's see, what's it called? Get project file structure and query the code rag tool in the format of which files oh yeah, which files would be affected by this change? Now the thing is, the file name and path is currently metadata in the code rag tool, which I think is bad. I don't know if it's actually including that in the query. Like, is it part of the embedding? Which of these files let's call it project file structure. Oh, it's really interesting how well it understands placeholders. It's really cool. Would be affected by this change. Read any existing affected files and write suggested changes to the code base. Okay, so we're just spitballing here. I'm really happy with the two first ones. It's really, it makes a lot of sense. It's super predictable and it does exactly what I want it to. But now figuring out where to implement something. That's I want the account to be persisted in a database. That's way more tricky, and maybe I'm overcomplicating it. But let's see. But I really like this concept of, okay, we're using the dependency rag tool to really like write an article on how to persist a count in a database, right? That's basically what we're doing. And then we're saying like we're using that article to implement the same functionality in our code base. I really like that. It's almost like I could not suggest an implementation, but I could actually tell it to write short article on how to yeah, that's really interesting. That's really, really interesting. So it's getting which of these files would be affected by this change. Persist account in a database. It's reading, it's writing. It's changing app TSX. This changes has been successfully implemented to persist account in specifically a new file was created to initial app file and set up the real-time database. The app was included for reading the initial count from. This is really, really good. Now the count will be stored in file like this. Like this is well, let's look at it first. So it couldn't know this. That's fine. We're not gonna do anything about that. It's really bad at TypeScript though. Maybe we should, yeah, you know what? That should be part of the general suggestion, I think. Oh, it actually changed counter. That's interesting. Oh, did it? No, it didn't override the code. It just changed it to a reducer for some reason. Yeah, but that's fine. Like it needs to change the count. Update count. Set count ref. Count ref. Okay. I don't think you really want that to be in the component. Anyways, like that's something, how would it actually know that, right? That's really, really interesting. But we're gonna try something with the dependency rag tool. We're gonna ask it to use the dependencies of the project to write a short article on how to generally implement this thing. I think that's a really cool idea. But this is great, right? I think this would run if we ran it. The problem is it doesn't write TypeScript. And let's look at the actual suggestion. This is also really nice. Oh, but it's actually looking at all the files. Yeah, and that's of course a problem. It's like, and that's why I think it needs, we shouldn't do this. We should be able to use the code rag tool to ask the same question. We can try to do that. So there are two things we're going to do. First, we're going to see if the suggested yeah, so there's no TypeScript in the, oh, it is update count number, but it didn't actually do that here, did it? Oh, interesting. Yeah. Anyways, so let us make those two changes. But this was really cool. So let's revert this. We don't need that file either. Let's exit that thing, and we're gonna say in the front of write a short guide on how to use write a short guide on how to use yeah, I wonder if here's also a thing is like the name of the dependency is also part of the metadata, and I don't know if it's actually part of the okay, write a short guide on how to write a short guide on how to implement write a short general guide on how to implement change. And then we're going to say let's see, let's try again, because I want to remove that like project structure thing, because it's like it doesn't scale. Query the call rag tool in front of list the files that would be affected by this. Yes. So if it's not able to answer that, the like the file name which is in the metadata isn't really like accessible by the query, and we need to figure out that because code rag, how do we actually store the files? So we create a new document here. Yeah, so like the ID is the file path, the file path. Well, this is nice with GPT-4 Omni, is that this is the first time I feel like I can write a list of instructions and it actually follows it. Read any affected files and write the suggested changes to the code base. Yeah, I want to say using TypeScript, but it should be able to infer that. It's kind of weird that it doesn't do that, right? I want the count to be persistent. Like if I just say persistent, it could do like local storage. So I'm gonna say in a database. And what's also nice here is that I'm just this insanely ambiguous. Like write a short general guide on how to implement persist account in a database. But it should be using its the exact usage examples from the dependencies, right? So that's really really good. So it's almost like it was so funny. Like you could even have a service where you can like choose different tools. You have like this ambiguous prompt, you choose npm packages, and then it will like create an actual guide for you. And then you could like change React with Vue, and then you would get a guide based on that. Yeah. Wow, that's really, really, uh, that's really funny. Yeah, so this is like this is wrong. It's not able to. Okay. So how llama index, how to make metadata part of query the query response. In case especially with long, a chunk of text may lack the content. However, this can be labor and time consuming to comment that we use to extract certain contextual. Um, keyword extractor. Like, how do I? But this is like extracting. Yeah, I don't understand how. Why isn't it able to answer me the specific files here? Um. It's almost like I can hack it. Like I can put the file path as a comment at the top of the file. Um, but I would expect it to, like, what if I say file paths? Query the code in format of list the file paths that would be affected by this change. We just needed to understand that metadata. Let's see, metadata. Oh, come on. Yeah. Enhancing and improving. We explore various node parsers. So this component for parsing documents into individual sentences doesn't feel right. Okay, I wonder if we should just but metadata filters, that's just like there's certain documents that we shouldn't. Yeah, I don't want to filter. I want the metadata to be part of the maybe I can just query in from the list the file list the file path in the metadata that wouldn't be affected by this in the document. Okay, I'm gonna just ask it to do start. Like if it's still wrong, then it's definitely not like accessing it at all. I need some music here. Let's say shuffle. Okay, I want the account to be persisted in a database. I just can't believe this. It's so funny that, like, what if to make an efficient coding agent, you basically just need to generate like guides from a dependency rag tool. It's such a funny idea. I don't know why I'm so pleased with myself. But it's really funny. Let's see now if it's able to grab the file path. If it doesn't get it now, we're just gonna hack it. So we're just gonna add the file path to the actual code as a comment, or as part of the summary. Oh, interesting. The persistent and the logic for game based on the context of the run file. Oh, interesting. What did it say? The file path for this is not. Okay. Okay, so it definitely doesn't have access to it. So let's just discard that. List the file paths. That's LLamaIndex does not query the metadata. Okay, whatever. Let's just go in. We're gonna delete the code embeddings, and then we're gonna, which means that it will actually generate it again when we fire it up, which is fine. But we need to go into a code rag, and then we're gonna say, so this is the summary. So what we want to do is basically go in. Summary. Does like markdown. Doesn't it have like metadata? Yeah, it's YAML. Okay, that's great. So we can, oh, this is even better. So we can incorporate some metadata. This is great. So we can say file path. So it should be really good at doing this. And we can add other things here as well, right? We can, I don't know what that would be. Oh, extension. Well, with the file path, it should like, so we could like identify what kind of file it is and so on, like TypeScript or whatever. This might be why it was bad at like, maybe, I don't know. Okay, so we're gonna start it again, and it will go ahead and it will embed the code summaries. So let's do that. I wonder how much money I've spent on this. It's out of control. Yeah, we'll just have to trust that it actually has the summary there. And this is like, this can also be optimized. Like I haven't done any prompt engineering on generating usage examples in the dependency rag or generating the summaries in the code rag. And so there's probably a lot of opportunity there. I want, okay, so what was the actual, okay, I want the account to be persisted in a database. Interesting. Refine the answer. So, like, what is the actual product idea here? The product idea is to, what I want to try to do is create this agent as a web service. And then we're gonna, it's gonna have like a simple web UI, but it's basically gonna run as a service in a repo on Code Sandbox, and then let's see what, yeah, we're gonna see what it answered. So what you would do is like you would kind of install it as an npm dependency, and then you make it a starting script, starting script for your repo on Code Sandbox, so that you can, like, the problem is, well, no, that's not the problem. So you can kind of, so when you create a branch, you'll, instead of jumping into the code editor, you just open the preview for the agent, and then you can type something there and off it goes. So let's see, the changes to persistent has been successfully implemented. Here's a summary of the changes made. Firebase, create a new file. Ensure that count is now persistent. Cool. I'm very curious what it answered. Okay, the new context provided describes. It's very interesting. Like, it seems to be using the oh, is it this change? Oh, by the following change. We likely need to make changes to the following files. Main environment. This is really good. You might want to update the documentation to include instructions. Okay, this is perfect. This is exactly what I wanted it to do. And yeah, and then I went in here. It created a Firebase config, which is fine. Database utils. Read count. There's a lot of code. and it's using the correct stuff, and then yeah. So this is perfect. This is exactly what it should do. So the only thing I want to change with this is by the following change. I think it was when I stated this, it would kind of reference its existing context. But it did give the right answer. Okay, I'm excited now. I'm officially excited. I've never gotten like the thing is I want the implementation to be something I can reason about. Which is why I've gone so low level with the LLMs and like extracting context and stuff, because I feel like with higher abstractions, I have no idea what's going on. But here, I still feel like I know what's going on. And it's doing what I want it to do. But this is really great. And just the reasoning it does through this, it's exactly how it's supposed to be. It reads the file contents and everything. So what's where it might break here is like the context window. Like it depends on the complexity of what you're doing, but this is the thing about having this agent. It's not gonna take over anything. It's just that you want it kind of like the prompt to sandbox, right? You want it to generate some initial state for you. Instead of you going in and trying to figure out everything, it can automate that for you. And maybe the initial suggestion is good enough, but the point isn't that it necessarily is good enough. But what we could even do here is not actually implement it. It could just be a tool that where you just state this, and then you will actually get. So, wow, this is interesting. What if this tool? So we have the code rag and the dependency rag. But what if it runs on the main branch and then you create a linear ticket? And what it does is that it calls this endpoint on the main branch and it will actually create a comment on everything you need to do. Or like you should consider and all of that stuff. That's a really cool idea. Wow, I'm really blowing smoke up my ass today. Is that the term? Is that how you say it? Smoke blowing my own. No, you can't say that, can you? Anyways, but that's really interesting. So I feel like we have something here. There's something about combining this code rag and dependency rag. It doesn't necessarily have to be an agent. It can be used for other things as well. So what would be fun to explore now is how can we get the code rag to summarize folders. That would be massively interesting. But to do that, like this is way more complicated. Oh man, I can't wait to demo this on Thursdays. That's gonna be fun. Just what we did now, like just going from complete randomness to actually being able to evaluate if it makes sense to even implement a suggestion, to actually creating an article on the fly for your requested change. That's too funny. Okay. So the way this works is, I think, so what it does here is that it goes through. So we need to restructure these evaluated files so that it starts deep in, like it's a tree, and you have the leaf nodes, which are the files and folders, or like branches are folders, and then leaves are the files. And we need to start at the very end with the leaves, and then when it hits a branch, we need to create a summary based on all the other leaves, and it moves up. I'm not sure if my mind is in the right state to actually implement something like that. And it's like, it's super tricky. Like if you make a change to a file in a folder, or like if you move files around, like identify what needs to be regenerated. And if you have nested folders, like you have to regenerate per folder, right? So it's, yeah. And what if you moved a folder to a different place? It doesn't really need to regenerate, but it will do that because the path has changed. So it's a little bit tricky. But maybe we can just write some comments here, and then I'm gonna take a small break and let's see. So what we have here is files to embed. So this is where okay, so these are all the files. So what we want to do here is, okay, so let's comment here. Maybe we can ask ChatGPT. I need to. I have a list of file paths. I need a function which allows me to which allows me to traverse this. We should how should I explain this? I have a list of file paths. I need a function which allows me to traverse the function which will convert these paths into a tree. The tree should be traversed from its leaf nodes and up to the root. I need a callback for every file and every folder. First, I should have a callback for an async callback for each node, and also an async callback and also an async callback when all sibling leaf node maybe I should just write it. I have a list of file paths. I need a function which will convert these paths into a tree. The tree should be traversed from its leaf nodes and up to the root. I should provide an async callback that is called when I should provide an async callback that is called when a leaf node is visited, receiving, oh my god, receiving the file path. When all sibling leaf nodes are visited and evaluated and awaited, a second callback provider should be called with a list of all file path and the result. And the result. I have a list of file. I want it in TypeScript. I have a list of file paths. I need a function which will convert these paths into a tree. The tree should be traversed from its leaf nodes up to the root. I should provide an I want to provide an async callback that is called when a leaf node is visited, receiving the file path. I will asynchronously return a result. When all sibling leaf nodes are visited and results awaited, a second callback provider should be called with a list of all file paths and the results. Yeah, let's see what it comes up with. I wonder if it works. Example usage. So async visit callback, result callback. Yeah, this is interesting. So I guess we don't really need. Yeah, this is very interesting. I want to try to run this. Copy code. Oh. I can just run this in a sandbox, vanilla TypeScript. Oh, switch to new editor. Let's see. Okay. This is very interesting. Okay, let's see again. So what does that mean? Async visit callback. Okay, so folded. Yeah, but this is wrong, right? It should go, we should start at the outer leaves. Or, yeah, I guess this is fine. What if I add, if this is folder 2, subfolder. Yeah, that's wrong. Okay, but maybe that's a good starting point. I just don't have the mental capacity to start looking at this. Maybe it's not that difficult, but I'm just not in the mood. But basically what we're going to do is it should first visit this one. When this resolves, this node, it should call this one. And when this resolves, oh yeah, we also have to take into account a summary of, yeah, it should resolve this one. And what that resolves, it should resolve this one, and this one. Oh, sorry, I thought that was the same folder. Okay, so let's imagine these are all part of the same. So it should first, yeah. So it should first resolve this one, then it resolves this one with that file path and the result of it. And then it should resolve this one, and this one. And then it resolves this one, which has all these files and the subfolder with their like summary. And then we can create another summary from that. So we're basically like diving through the tree, building up summaries by traversing it. Okay, great. Yeah, so that's what we're gonna do, but we're not gonna do it now. I think maybe I need to implement this myself. Yeah, maybe the back of my brain can work on this, and then we'll figure it out. But yeah, this was awesome. This is really awesome. Like, it's almost like we've gotten back to where we started, but in a much, much, much better place. So even though we had something running in the beginning, like this is, we're talking months now. We had an agent running, actually implementing something, but it had no sense of any of the stuff we're doing now. It did not have, I can't even remember how it even figured out stuff. I think it actually searched, like did manual searching. Yeah, so this is really awesome. Okay, great. We'll talk hopefully more tomorrow. Maybe we can implement that thing. That would be fun. And then from there, we're gonna basically play around with the agent. Just try stuff. Yeah. Cool. Bye.